Welcome back to another episode of Terrible Town Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, and I'm so excited to bring another show to you guys. You know, I started the series a little earlier in the year, 1 or 2 shows, while we were doing the off season, just to let you guys know what I would be bringing to you as we got closer to the season. So now that training camp has started, as well as preseason, it's time to go ahead and get in gear and get these shows rolling out. Definitely plan to have them rolling out on a weekly basis. So of course, let's go ahead and get started, guys. I don't want to hold you too long. Just want to talk a little bit about the last preseason game that we all just witnessed. Steelers versus the Vikings. Of course, it was a losing effort, but let's talk a little bit about what took place in the game. And before I even get to that, definitely a huge shout out to the Steeler Nation and Jerome Bettis as we watched him go into the Hall of Fame. Well deserved. Of course, we're all excited about that, so that was the high point of the weekend. Now let's talk about the game. First thing, man, we got to talk about some bad news. Sean Sweezum, guys, is out for the season. That is not a good look for our Pittsburgh Steelers. Not a good look at all. I know some people have their feelings about Sean Sweezum. When he was with other teams, he wasn't, as good as he's been with us. But we love him at Pittsburgh for what he's done for us. He's been Mr. Consistency for the most part. This is going to hurt. You know the type of games that we play. Our field goal kicker has been very important for us in years past. Now, we do have an explosive offense now, so maybe we'll put up more touchdowns. But this is going to be a blow, man. So it's going to be interesting to see who will be able to come in and fill in his place. Tough situation there. He's out for the season. All right, now let's talk a little bit about the game. I got to start right here with Landry Jones. I'm not liking what I'm seeing out of Landry Jones. I've been saying this, guys, since Landry Jones has played his very first snap with Pittsburgh a few years ago. I just don't like what I see from him. I gave him a pass when he was a rookie, but now he still looks like the same guy. He can't even manage the clock right. I mean, come on, man. What did he have? 2 or 3 delay of game penalties and almost had a 4th one. Not liking what I'm seeing from him. I mean, he managed the ball a little bit. He didn't do too bad as far as his passing, but it's just not what you want to see out of a backup. Now that we know, Gronkowski is out for a while. We need to know who's going to be there, man. You never know the type of style of play that Ben plays. Ben could go down at any given time, as far as a play or two, a game or two, or what have you. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but you definitely need a decent and respectable backup in today's NFL. So that's a blow right there before the season even gets started. No kicker and no real #1 backup. So let's talk about some positive things, man. Ryan Shazier, I love what I saw out of Shazier. He did miss a few tackles, as did a couple other guys. Missed some easy tackles, but it is what it is. But Shazier was playing like a madman for the time that he was in the game. Looking like the guy that we want him to be. He was starting to warm up a little bit last year. His rookie season, got injured. We all know how that goes. But looking at what he did here on Sunday night, I'm very impressed. I'm very excited to see where he's going to take his game in this season. I also like what I saw out of Dre Archer. Dre Archer looked pretty good, man. He looks a lot better than he did in his rookie season. Like I said, here's another guy who's young, didn't do so much last year, but you're starting to see, maybe he understands it a little better this year. Still somewhat of a liability in the passing game as far as pass protection. But come on, we know his size. It is what it is. But I like the way he handled himself in the return game as well as the time he got his hands on the ball. Now, a couple other things I got to talk about. Jesse James. This is a guy I've been talking about. I've been high on him because of what he could bring to our offense potentially as far as vertically as a catching tight end. But come on, man, a wide open touchdown. And you're on the 1-yard line and it just completely turns into Butterfingers. Can't have that. And he made other mistakes, coughing the ball up. It's not looking good for him in his first, opportunity. Be interesting to see what he does in the next game. So, we got some other tight ends in camp, man. You better show and prove or you're not going to be on the team. So, you got to get yourself together, man. And also, Brandon Boykin. You know, I want to talk about Boykin a little bit, man. Didn't see too much out of him in the game, and, you know, he didn't really get a whole lot of opportunities. He did bat down the ball. That was great to see that. You know, jumped up, knocked it down. Love that. Love his activity there. But Brandon Boykin is a guy, you know, I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. We're going to see what's going to happen with him. He could possibly be a starter. Who knows? You know, we still need to see how Cortez Allen is going to bounce back. Since last year, don't be surprised. You know, Boykin could turn some heads. He had a great week in practice. Don't be surprised by the end of the season. End of the preseason. You never know. So let's keep our eye on him and see what he's going to do. A couple other guys we definitely should look at. Anthony Chickillo. You know, I've been hearing he's had a great camp. This is what I was talking about, if you guys remember before. He's the type of guy with a type of build that can help us on the D-line. Maybe not so much, you know, standing up and being an outside linebacker, but he could definitely help us. He has that body type, you know, like a Brett Kiesel. Could be somebody that could be a force on the line. So outside of that, man, the only thing else, you know, that kind of broke my heart a little bit, you know, the Sinquez Golson injury. We still don't know how serious it is, but in my opinion, it's serious enough to, you know, that is even, you know, something that's being talked about. It's not good, man. And that means that what we could potentially see, you know, Boykin and, you know, Cortez Allen both having to play. You know, either way, one of those guys are going to be playing the slot, because I was thinking that Sinquez Golson would have been that guy. You know, even a guy like Antoine Blake, I like to see him play inside if we're going to play him because, you know, his small stature. It's going to be interesting, man. I think overall the defense, we're going to struggle a little bit in the beginning. You know, I think we're getting back to becoming a decent defense. You know, you saw Lawrence Timmons come up with a great shot, almost knocked the guy's head off. That's what you expect from Lawrence. But, you know, I think defense is going to be the weaker point of our team. We'll see how, you know, how they get themselves together in the rest of the preseason. But our back end, the secondary is still questionable. You know, William Gay definitely will probably be able to play solid for us. But after that, you know, it's all a question mark. We don't know what Cortez Allen is going to show up. And we don't know if Brandon Boykin will be the starter or, you know, the nickel corner. Either way, I think he's going to, you know, do some good things for us. But either way, we're very thin in that area. So it remains to be seen. So that's pretty much all I got for you this week, guys. You know, just wanted to reflect on the game a little bit. You know, it was the first game. You know, preseason, quote unquote, doesn't mean anything. But to me, it means a lot because I would like to see a win from backup guys. Because guess what? When the number one guy goes down, his backup comes in. So when the backups don't look good, not a real good feeling for me as far as a team because you're only as strong as your weakest link. So there you have it, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with you probably next week with another show. You know, definitely once the season starts, it will be weekly. But stay tuned. Plan to bring these throughout the season. Any information that's worth talking about, I plan to cover it here on this show. Once again, thanks for stopping by. Leave your thoughts, leave your comments, and hey, click the like button. All right, guys, until next time, let me know what you think. And here we go. Once again, guys, thanks for coming by. And if you want to interact with me live, head on over to Sim Standard Radio every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, along with Smitty and Azure Effect. The call-in number for the show is down in the description. Now, of course, for more content, go ahead and click the link above. And before you go, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. All right, guys. Until next time, lights out.